like for some reason, or else I'm older.
I'll just yell.
Okay.
We should be live.
Okay, welcome to the June 20 North Logan City Council meeting. We will excuse Buzzy and today we will have let's see, a pledge led by Mark, after which
Join with me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we thank Thee and in North Logan with such wonderful. We're grateful for the this season of summer. Good weather to be grateful for. We ask that please bless that we'll be able to continue precipitation that we need to, that we can continue to be good stewards of precious water that we have. We ask Thee in this meeting that we can be mindful of the residents of North Logan, interest of our community, and that we can consider all the different points of come to a consensus on how to move forward. And we say this prayer in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
thank you, Kenny and Mark. I would entertain a motion to
So moved.
motion by Joni,
Second.
second by Kenny. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we'll start with recognition. What?
They are
do-
sensitive, aren't they?
Yeah. Let's
Oh.
see.
We changed, I think, order to do the
Option agenda.
recognition before.
Yeah, we will get there. Don't try and steal the spotlight from. Okay, tonight's exemplary staff member is John Mills, utility. This is from Jesse Howe. John Mills did a fan drawing in a crowd of over 2,000 despite staying on top of his normal duty. And explore a wide variety of vehicles. Does not go unnoticed. I will say though, this week, as I went to lean on John. We may want to just rethink his employee
Okay.
file. No, we love John and to the city, and join me in a hand of applause.
Mayor, do you want, is the, if we,
Apparently not. Okay, we'll try this. Okay, now we will approve those. We have minutes from June 5th. 4 sets of those, the LBA and RDA.
I move that we approve the minutes from June 5th.
Yep. Okay, motion by Kenny,
I'll second.
second by Mark. Are there any? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes unanimously. Alan, let's see how your mic works.
Okay, thanks, Mayor. Just jumping down through these. And again, one thing that we'll probably on the screens, and we'll make
And in the future, the screen should be split. And also a view of the council. Anyway, that should be operational by next meeting. And hopefully our microphone's perfect by next meeting, but sorry about that. Jumping through the the action items. So we'll go through over the community. But just they have a rough construction. But jumping down through several of these things, fantastic news this week, and hats off to the water department. It looks like they're in the preliminary, but I think they have secured which is unheard of right now. So hats off to them. And that's the division. And so if that goes through, they'll start drinking water improvement items, capital improvement list that was identified in the master plan a month ago. Well 5, they're tying that into the system. So we're working on our trunk. It's expedited because of the subdivision going in, and our trunk line, it's a shared trunk line, goes through that. And so we're working on that. And then they're also going through streets, as the mayor mentioned. Thanks to those who came out and helped with be a streets department worker for a day. Sorry, we have a little bit more notice next year. I'll get that. But Colby's crew is doing a phenomenal. The reason I need to say council meetings, we used to during the meeting, every meeting that needed to be completely replaced, and they'd reached a point in their life cycle over all of the years of the road, and they hit a point called complete replacement of a road costs, but just doing surface treatments costs to keep that. I never thought we would get that. That list is probably 1 to 2 roads. Because that list shrunk from 15. And it's literally 1 road in the city that has. There's an excuse for that, a valid excuse. Fault. They inherited that road. But it's because of the aggressive nature. Brought it back to that level. So hats off to him and his crew. I mean, that saved to the citizens of the community. That money's gone into those surface streets.
Alan, is that be a road worker for a day?
We can look into different events.
I would. I feel bad I missed it.
The only issue that we're having, or that we would have, is that I think most of the surface treatment from here on out, it would mainly just be the crack seal that we do in far in each of the cracks. And I think maybe one more surface. I'll check with Colby on. Or you could.
Last year. It was just.
Yeah, okay.
Anyway,
Yeah. And literally what he has literally saved the city hundreds of thousands a year, if not. just replacing a tiny subdivision and redoing the road in that can cost. And if you're spending 300 to 400,000, that shows you the magnitude of saving. And so yeah, it involves him and coordination and all the other departments. So the street flagging during these projects and city, and the mayor. So thank you to everyone that's done that and can potholes. Just drink plenty of water.
Yeah, yeah, I'm in.
Okay, I'll keep in touch with you guys on. Just jumping down through here, engineering, 25. And they'll probably go out to do. And chat with them at that time regarding their properties, and go over any questions they may have at that time. There's still a long way to go. Jumping down through here. Sorry, one more thing on engineering. To do a public hearing regarding what projects we're applying for. Several cities were projects they were doing. Now it's a requirement that there's a public, which is simple for North Florida. And the city council can go over it at that, before it's actually submitted. Parks, like I said, they're helping out with the streets. The pavilion at Meadowview is basically under that, and that'll be a Meadowview Park. Trails, we've been funded a grant to install a portion of the Bonneville Shoreline. RAPS, we were grant to do a feasibility study for. And so all the entities, including the county, it'll be great. So they'll probably start on that 1 month and a half, and then we'll work on it. Recreation, just several departments helped out with this, including and Jesse and his department. They put together there were 2,000 plus people in attendance. And there were several other events going on in the back. It was really well put together. Cost the city next to nothing. So great event for the community. Jumping down through here, facilities, we'll talk about the surplus list. Cemetery, there's several barriers. With the other departments. Community development, so they'll talk about new developments coming in and the city council, and this will be an attempt to look at different ways to make that easier, more streamlined for new developments as to how that would be governed. So the shares would be allocated to the individual and governed through an HOA. That would be the proposal. That will come. Scott's already worked on that. He's put that a draft, and that will be also the geologic overlay zone that was discussed for the areas with very steep slopes on in an effort to and clarity for someone who wants economic development. There's some things that are I'll probably be updating the city. Those to say deals are finalized. Treasurer, we're hiring a new receptionist, and she also has a program called Express that the city's probably going to switch to. we've kind of been holding off this entire. It's kind of a program that served us very small capable. But we pay a very minimal amount. But right now there's the city, all the different payments, everything from library to rent. To where we probably need to switch. Okay, it's a very popular program across the state, but it does cost money. But what it does, it provides, it streamlines a lot of things, but it's very accessible to the public, very easy to, and that will be the benefit as well. Is pay things online. A lot easier to handle a lot of that method, through that method.
Do we know what the cost?
I don't know exactly. I would think in that realm. I don't have the exact cost. And the one we're paying for right now, I would. So it's a pretty big jump for that. But we're hitting that threshold where. So what do we go to with that?
Yeah,
But I can give
with,
you information.
with software like that, they often if they do license it that way.
I think ours is based off of number of.
Okay.
Not a percentage of revenue.
No, I don't think so. And there's laws. User, which I don't know if we can, but we'll look into those.
And we'd use it for like the rec payments too, you said?
Mainly utility payment. Which is also a financial. Not that we don't have controls right now, but that higher level of financial control, having it under one. That point.
I'd imagine having to hire someone part-time.
I don't know that, but it will definitely save.
So it
Very
would probably pay for itself.
Yeah. Human resources, there's several. They are looking at different onboard, or a method for onboarding. Preliminary, but it'll be pretty extensive. Employees coming to work for Norfolk. We'll go through that process. We'll go over some of the budget items. Library, they're recertifying. Doing a great job with that. And the other departments that are helping through. Police, they've had several things in the past few. Code enforcement officer, which will be noticed, and so just watch for that. And if you have you think should apply for that position, part-time position with. We always really encourage referrals for different departments to help out with that. And then the fire department will have several reports from our chief, if that's okay. He's got several. Yep. Regarding everything from fireworks to ISO to Rocky Mountain Power even. We'll go through those. Sorry, I skipped through a lot of different things. Are there any other questions?
The police enforcement officer, when are you look?
Probably in the next month or so. Or at least the hiring would close.
Part-time?
Okay, thanks, Alan. Doesn't cut out? I don't know. We'll try that. Okay, let's move on to our current act. We'll start with a public hearing on amending and adopting an impact fee. The city council may consider approval of the. Alan, do you want to go through it beforehand or should we do the public?
So this is such an extensive. we've hired a contractor to help us go. We can either go through it at detail. Next public hearing is much. This one is the capital facilities plan, with what the actual analysis that come out of the impact fee analysis. So
Okay. So this is just public input.
capital facilities plan, which then drives the impact fee.
Okay.
analysis.
Okay, sounds good. We can wait for the lengthy okay, then I will open up that. We have our typical rules, state your name. Limit your statements to 2 minutes, phrase your. Address your comments to the council, not. If in the future you have questions or need to discuss. Or city staff before the public hearing. You may provide a written statement for a hearing. The 2-minute limit applies. You can provide that. And it will become part of the public record, but. So with that, we'll open up that public hearing. Seeing no comments, we will close that public. Any discussion on this?
Let's see.
And better. Eat it.
So there's each
I'll
of the
put
different,
it in my mouth.
so there's each of the different departments or the ones that are
Okay.
parks. This one is considering parks, roads, water and sewer. This one is not considering that, this one,
So each department needs their own.
yeah, they don't mingle. Emily will go over that. How objective this. Tonight in about.
So we need a motion to approve the adopting of.
Yeah.
With the end goal being another public hearing.
Right after this.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, motion by Mark. Second by Joni. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that's unanimous. We'll move on to the. To receive public input on a proposed. For water, sewer, roads. Of the IFE following the public hearing. Okay, so Alan, do you want to take this or?
I
Emily.
am not.
Okay, Emily, why don't you walk us through?
Did that do it?
Ooh.
Emily Sim. So probably the best place to start would be to talk about those capital. Can I move this down, I think?
I think there's a knob on the side too that you tighten up.
Can you hear, am I getting picked up now? Okay. So the Impact Fees Act says that you need to base your impact fees on the existing capacity in your system and what is needed to be able to maintain the. It's concerning to have to go in and out.
It's
Right. 'Cause
They're
then-
working at.
Um, yeah, what was I saying there? Let me think for a second. So it's important that you figure out what parks, roads, you need to figure out what the level of service is for your, and then you can have an impact fee for future that will ensure that that level of service. So the reason why that plan tells you the current excess capacity or lack thereof. It tells you your existing level of service to be able to keep that level of service residents. So that's why you need a capital facilities plan. And then the impact fees get based on. So I don't know how each one is calculated and what we all, 60 some odd pages of this. Let's go through the summary. Yep. Okay, let's do that. So let's start with the one above that one, Alan. Yep, great. Okay. So parks, the parks impact fee is calculated per household. And you want to look at your level of service. And you guys have some nice pathways. So that would be gravel or natural pathways. And so the way that you figure that out, do an inventory of your, and if you wanted to see that, this might be the better, just to kind of refer to the parts that you would need. Just a second. Your inventory of your existing is on page 13. Yep. So that's where we look at how many acres are in each park, how many developed acres of parkland are in each park. And then it looks at all of your trails, how, the length of each of those trails. And from that, we're able to get a developed parks and then a level of service for, and that's done per person. And then it's multiple to give you a level of service per household. So the way that you would read that on page 13 is that your developed parks level of service 0.028 for each household that you have in North Logan. And down at the bottom, for paved trails, you have 0.0 miles of paved trails household. Okay. And then we want to be able to assign a to those levels of service. So then we do some additional inventory. We look at how much it costs to hydroseed and to do prep. We look at all the trees in your park. And, we put in a sprinkler system. And so that's page 14. And that's where we figure that has grass on it and nothing else, and how much that would cost. Yeah. Yeah. And then on page 50, that's where we start looking at how much so these are all the different kinds of facilities that you, whenever we had actual North Logan. If we didn't have that, then we used. If one thing with impact fees is you always want to be. So if there's a range, we're going to go with the lower of the cost. And then what we're able to do is we look at each of your parks. We start with Elk. I've looked at a lot of parks. It's a pretty amazing park. You look at all the facilities that you have, and we assign a cost then to each one of those. It costs $5,000 to put in a climbing wall. So we do that with each park
Emily,
and
can I
come
ask
up
a-
with a cost per park.
Sorry, quick question on this.
Yep.
Park usage by North Owen residents.
No. No, and I don't even think, I mean, couldn't even do that with like a traffic counter. You'd actually,
Yeah, I don't know how you would
it'd
do,
be an interesting study if you wanted.
because I think you're right. Our parks are so throughout the valley. So I was just,
Yeah.
just since these fees are,
Yep. That is true. So after we figure out how much it would cost to, we then look at the ways that you have. So have you been financing them with 100 impact fees? Have you been using general fund money? Have you been using RAPS tax money? And of course, RAPS money. So starting on page 18, when we're figuring out the cost of your parks, we don't want to increase the amounts that we know that RAPS will continue to contribute. So we look at the history of your, and if you scrolled up to the top of that, you could, right? Oh, no, just kidding. Sorry. If you scroll down, you could see the older ones. So we go back in time looking at how much money the city received from RAPS, what it was used for, and then we calculate a percentage of parks improvements that were paid by RAPS. Like in 2014, 33 parks were paid for. In 2011, 18% of RAPS money,
so everything in this table is,
all of it.
Yeah.
Yep. That second to last column though, that's impact fees that have been expended. So we're looking at RAPS tax as a percentage of impact fees spent.
I see.
And we're going to subtract that in the, so that development, new development. And then there are some other things that you need to look at. These are these next couple of steps here, and I'll only need to mention. So if you would scroll down just a little bit, Alan, you're running that, aren't you?
Yeah.
You don't want to running it? Okay, just making sure I'm not. You do need to look at whether or not impact fees are necessary. So if for some reason you had an unlimited source of wealth and all of your parks were going to get built, kind people, right? Then maybe you wouldn't need impact fees. But what we do is we use impact fees to ensure. So whenever you build something, it's always oversized. You're always, and impact fees give you a chance to pay for what they've already paid for that was really. So are impact fees necessary? We'll pay a greater share of the cost for all of these improvements. The next thing you need to look at is whether and you had property taxes that were coming in. That was being used on parks. Otherwise, someone has already paid through their property tax on their undeveloped property. And then when they build on that undeveloped property, and so you'd have a credit for that. That's not true. You guys only fund your parks with RAPS tax. Then step 7, and this is something that you would just want to think of per development basis. But a developer could come in and say, as part of my new subdivision, and it's going to be and maintained by the city going forward, build this park, will you give me a credit on the impact fees? You could do something like that. So that's on a per development basis. Or if there's extraordinary looking at their impact fees because of that. So step 7 is just telling you that you not included in the impact fee. We don't, but you would just do that if someone. So you'd need to at least consider that, have to approve it. So to calculate the impact fee, if we go to page 22. Great. Yeah, let's just look at the top of that table. Nice, thanks. So we said that there were 0.02 per household. And then we determined that 301,000 to develop that land once you have it. And that gives us the parks cost per household. So we took point. So that's the cost to be able to have that amount of park that says developed. Park is developed for each household is 8,000. But now we got to take out that RAPS money that we. And then your parks impact fee per household is 4,000. Yeah.
I know that RAPS funding. How do you account for that?
The way we accounted for it is by looking at, what is it, I think 12 years that we have in there and calculate that you got over that time.
So the only adjustment,
No more RAPS?
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
then is that,
Well,
I'm just
I mean,
curious.
yeah, I mean, I think that yeah. You'd want to look at your impact fee
Okay,
and look at if you needed to charge more now that you revenue source.
okay.
Yeah. That's just the fee for parks, for trails. Travel trails per house of paved. These trails have become really expensive. The cost of these trails per mile, if you can scroll a little bit there, Alan, is 264,000 per mile for a gravel. Excuse me, and 343,200 for a paved trail. So it is mind-boggling. Costs have increased so much.
Per mile.
Yeah.
About 7 feet per house.
Is that what that is? If you take 0.0013
Okay.
5672, whatever it is. Yeah. So if you multiply those costs by those and reduce by that 42%, and you get a total trails impact fee per household of 400. That's for gravel and then another thing that you can also include. So we look at the total cost for this analysis, divide it by the number of new households we expect to have. And it's $8 per household for me to do this analysis. So that's included there. And you get a combined parks and trails impact of 5,315. Now you can, this is for a single family home. You could adjust this. So if you're going to have a development that's going household size that we for you guys. This is out of your master plan. Let me see what the household size was. 3.06 people. But if you had a new development go, you could recalculate their impact fee. Just go back through here and 2 instead of 3.06. And so you are allowed to do that. And then of course, parks are only charged to, so commercial development will not have a parks impact fee. And then the other important thing is this is a conservative calculation that is in full compliance with the impact. Like I said, it is conservative, but it's the max that you can charge. So you can decide to charge anything.
Up to the $8.
No, up to 5,315.
I like the $8.
And that's just for the parks. That's just for the park.
That's just the parks impact fee. Yeah.
So-
And some cities decide to do. Might want to do that if you were. Yeah.
So a couple of questions, I guess, for possibly recalculating for.
Yeah.
Well, the city has access to all the
Well, I mean, it's all,
okay, right.
and I'd
I
also
guess-
be happy to walk
Mhm.
Jordan or anybody through it at any time.
I guess
Yeah.
I was hoping that there,
Brrr. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I could make that available.
And we've looked at that in the past. I think we had a long debate regarding individual units and whether they use the. You could have a unit that has 3 or 4 people. And you could have another one with 8 people in it. And so at that point, it was very difficult to say.
yeah,
But at the same token, yeah, even if it's a senior community, I can tell you right now, they might be using our.
yeah. Go look at the pickleball courts.
I didn't specify. Kenny's the one that. Yeah, the trails they will use extensive.
Yeah,
One of the highest users of our
yeah,
trails.
good point. My other question was as far as, so the city can charge up to this amount, but can decide to choose less, but.
Yeah.
You know, as you stated, the purpose of the impact. If a city chooses to charge less than this for impact fees, then current residents are still. Correct?
That's true.
So,
Yep.
okay,
And we'll get to that at the. Jordan's put together recommendations, of fees to charge based off of what we have. And really based off of, not wanting to go too. While still maintaining levels.
We
Okay.
had this discussion on the numbers as well, because it was like $8,000 a household when we did when we looked
Still
at the,
can be, and we can look at that. We'll look at that shortly.
but if we, to the extent we owe this number, we then having current citizens subsidize that cost for new.
Correct.
There may be a reason to do that, but that's what this calculation shows.
Exactly, and there's a fine line that you walk. Certain smaller communities set limits or they have. And I'll just state it like, Manaway. Just for the water impact. And so you look at things like that, it was a real cost. Needs were just off the. And so looking at those types of things, it's something that North Logan has to. Where that literally just put a curb on growth, like that blocked basically any growth. Just their water impact fee. But we'll look at that shortly and. Based off of all of these things that Emily's put. The caps that she's put together.
That's right, the max. Let's look at the roadways and that one's next. So to look at roadways, the first thing that we do is we look. Sorry, we look at existing roadways. Excuse me, in the city that still have life left in them and that were built with. For new development. So we have roads that have been. We have the cost that was. By the city. And then we also have the amount of that. That was built for excess capacity. So whenever you build a new road, you don't use. So you build a road wider than what you would need for existing residents. And that's that excess capacity. So we figure out a cost of that expanded capacity. And we do that excuse me, looking at what of the improvement and then using a road that cost $210,000 is $325,000. And not just because the cost of everything, not because it's more, but this is just the present value in 2015. So we calculate a total excess capacity in is $5.9 million. And then your city engineer has for your city is 13,000 trip. And we take that 5.9 million and we have, wait, no, that's not what we do. I'm sorry. We take the 13,000, I'm like, that's not gonna work. We take the capacity of your roadways that we multiply it by the length of these roads, and we get an expanded capacity in trips on these roads that we can have for new development, or your roads are undersized. And we take the cost of those roads, that 5.9 million, divide it by that 58,000 to get a cost per trip of $102. So a trip is a one-way driving on a road. So if I drive to Walmart, I'm going to take trips are an interesting thing to look at. That's how this, and they're all based on, sorry, I'm gonna find it, right? The Institute of Traffic Engineers, they have a manual. I'm gonna make sure I get the name right. Where is it? I'll get it. I'll find the name of the manual. So, but the way that trips work is it's just so this manual that they have, it's trip generation. There we go. I don't know. Trip generation by the Institute. They get data from analyses on road. So maybe they have a trip counter places in their city and their how many cars drive past it. They send all that data. And then they put together this gigantic that tells you how many trips, different kinds of development. And we'll come back to that in just a minute. But I just want to tell you, this is where these trips come from. Table 8, page 26. These are the roadways that you need to. So remember the importance of the capital facilities plan. This is your parks. It tells you your excess capacity in your existing road. In the next 6 years, you need to maintain your existing level. So that list of roads there, we are then able to look at anyway, like let's say you have a road and it's a narrow road, a 4-lane road. You can charge that excess capacity redo of the road because existing residents. So that second column in table that's allocated to new development. So the one that's the lowest is the 34. $75% for existing. So we're only going to include $12,500 of that total cost. So again, we're going to look at how much the percent that should be allocated to new development and then how long those roads are. And we're going to get $3.3 million. And we have the same capacity. The capacity of your roadway. And that's a daily capacity. And then we have so that's 2.58 times 13. And we get a cost per trip of 100. So we had a cost per trip for your existing roads of $102, excuse me. And then we have a cost for your new roads of $100. The other thing we wanted to consider is building a public workshop to be able to continue to maintain all of your. And this public workshop is going to be equally beneficial to, want to make sure I get these ones right. Roads. Let's see where I have this. Yeah. Let's see, it's an $8 million shop. A third of it's allocated to, is it water and wastewater? Those the other two?
Yes, water, sewers.
Stormwater, but we don't have stormwater. Okay. Yeah, so we've taken the cost of that public, divided it by 3 so that we can, and looked at the number of new households and oh, that's a typo. This is why I have my pen here. It's because you don't see typos until you're standing. This would be the total new households, total number, not the, but the total households, commercial and industrial. 44 in 20 years. So what we're doing is we're assuming that the life of that facility is going to be at least 20 years. Obviously it will be at least 20 years. We're going to look at the total number of households in 2044 and divide that 2.6 million by that number. And we're going to get, oh wait, no, that's it. Never mind. That's not wrong. I have it in the next line. I'm sorry. The current number of those entities is the number we expect to have in. So what we do then is we difference of those two numbers and divide the 2.6 million by that to get 500. Sorry to be so confusing. I confused myself. Okay. So that will get added in the impact fee for roads, but it's expected that existing roads pay their share of that facility through other means. It's a household or it's a business. Yeah. Okay. Let's look at page. Let's see. Let's go to table 9. One of the things we need to look at know that some of your roadways have been paid through your general fund, which means that some of your undeveloped properties have already paid for roadways. So that's what table 9 is. Properties, that's a 5. And then table 10, excuse me, looks at the amount of money that you've used of Class B and C road funds, and the amount that property tax has contributed to figure out the rest of that credit. It's all the final credits in table 11. So you're going to take the 5 point, the costs that have been paid through for roadways, 5.4% of, multiply it by 5.7%. Roadways that have been paid by relative to your property tax revenue, and it gives you a funding credit of 0.3%. But it's important that you include that kind of. Then we have the same, and talking about whether impact fees are necessary. Table 12 on page 31 is where we start to calculate, well, table 12 is when we calculate the cost of this analysis that I did. So again, we can charge. So it's the $5,000 charge divided by the number of new households in 20. And that's not supposed to be new households and commercial entities.
New households and what?
Commercial entities. Yep. Yep. And so there's a $5 charge for the. And now we can finally calculate a cost. So we take that 102 from the $100 from table 8, subtract the 0.3% from, and get a total cost per trip of 201. And we are going to add that $5 onto it. And so now if you go, and I don't know how this is going to like it is wide enough for you to be able to see it. So table 14 shows you an impact fee is calculated. So
this-
let's,
Is this just the roads?
this is just roads.
Okay.
Okay. So if we look at the residential category, the ITE code, that's from the, the code is 210. It means you could look that up. So single family detached housing, that type of development causes on average 9 points per day on your roads. So when you build a new house, it adds that many trips to your roads every. So you take that trips, 9.4, and then you are going to multiply per trip from table. That gives you $1,895. Then add the cost for the shop that we're per household or per. So add that 532 and add the $5. And you will get the impact fee, which if you did that calculation, you can do the next table where I have this as an example, table 15. And you get 2,430. So the way that you would do these impact fees is when someone comes in, you look. So if they're an athletic club, you go down to the, and you see that their number of trips is 0.725. So you multiply that by the 201. And then you add the 532 and the 5. And that gives you the impact fee per. So, right. And that's what I was just pulling out of there, but I have exactly.
So,
Yeah. So table 15 has examples.
so we will have different levels of, like hundreds of different levels of impact
Right.
fees.
Which is why you have this table that. Each table, because sometimes it's done by the number of.
So if we zoom out.
Yeah.
How much of these standards are objective? You're just applying an objective. Is that
Right.
what you're
Yes,
walking through with us, right?
Right. So the objective part of the.
Yeah.
Those numbers are not subjective. The place that you will get into subject is the estimates for cost. Almost always, I'm going to tell you, you're going to. Roads are going to cost. Every time that I do one of these, we say, these are the. I say, how much do they actually cost? And they all. So that's the subjective part. It is
So
important.
what's your role in that?
No, because I think. Not against my impact fees, but I've been brought in to do testimony for impact fees. And the way that you challenge them is that you should get a lower number. So that's how they have to be challenged. So what I do is I use lower numbers so that mine are all conservative, so that something less is low.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I guess that's,
More of a protection. That's the
I get
subjective
kind
part,
of-
is that I'm conservative.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I kind of get mired in these numbers. I don't necessarily is for you to tell us like parts where you use your judgment to,
Right. Right.
I
Okay.
think that would be the most helpful.
Yep. So another spot that happens is, data for, like, if you're going to say how
Mhm.
that's subjective, 5% you can find in the literature, 7% or even 10. Not the most conservative one because some take it out the other direction. So if you go too conservative on the low end, then you actually get higher going out the other direction. So to be conservative, I use a middle ground.
Okay. I
Um,
guess I'm just looking
and all the
for,
rest of it's based on your,
okay.
right.
I guess I'm just kind of looking for,
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. And the law is really clear about which is why, so I know that I think, Mr. Hansi, you were referencing, there was another water impact fee analysis that,
Yeah,
yeah,
that went out maybe farther.
right. And I actually had some
Why?
problems
are we talking about the
telling what my
water
problems
study?
were with.
It's more of just a quick rough estimate.
It was still
Not
2 inches
necessarily,
thick.
but their expertise, I don't think is in the,
They're not more, they're less,
That's true.
Right. And I used all of their was all really, really good. In fact, that's what I said. I said they're,
you're saying stay in your lane, guys.
no, but it's just that there are things that you could challenge.
Yeah.
I don't want you to have to,
Is
So-
it the challenge, is it the roughly proportional test? Is that
yeah,
raised in court? So you have
Mhm.
to be roughly proportional or less
right,
in order to be
right. And,
considered valid.
right. But then to fight it, someone would have to come in and show that it's
It's higher
proportional
than the roughly
because, yeah.
proportionate. And so you've been conservative to bring that analysis down below what the proportionate or
right,
and then that factor should play into if we because
Right.
your numbers are not high end roughly proportional. They're
right.
and then we subsidize from that lower number.
Right.
so looking through this though, just to, sorry, I won't get extremely off topic. Just to put a plug in for what Emily does. 4 or 5 years ago, North Logan had not done it. So it was a long time before. 3 to 5 years, I think.
It's 6.
6 years. Is it
Yeah.
just to update these, to have these? They're extremely lengthy. I will just tell you that I've looked at, and as they put these together, they've try and justify that. So then I see those cities get. We've even had previous. Tried to push for that, and we had to remind them. These are an objective analysis.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's a
You-
hint of,
Yeah, but you put yourself at risk.
yeah,
You don't, like, you put the city at risk for lawsuits that could be won.
yeah, we've had people push to say, well, we would all love that. Just so you know.
And maybe, Mayor, are you,
A little bit, just because.
Yeah.
I like to stay in my lane.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say,
fine. Yeah,
because I'm just going to defer to you.
right, okay. Well, what I can just tell. You've kind of heard how we go through it anyways. The first thing we did is looked at your existing the cost for new growth for the capacity in your existing 39. So go back a little bit. Page 39 is $1,030. And then we're going to look at what you need to do. Table 17. These are this is your capital facilities plan. Water, and you can see the cost per ERC. That's equivalent resident. It's the same as equivalent residential unit. It means water, 4,769. Now let's skip ahead. For water, you will have debt for water. So you are going to be starting a loan for water, and we need to make sure that new development doesn't come in and then every month they pay their water bill, and part of that water bill goes. So we figure out their share of that water debt service, back that in the impact fee. This is one of the things the other impact fee didn't have, how you were going to fund. And then we're going to calculate the impact fee. Add the cost from table 17, subtract. And I have a standard water impact fee of 4. That's for a single family home. That's for a 3/4. So the way that the water impact fee is done is you look. So like a 2-inch meter size has 5.33 of a 3/4 inch. So their impact fee is 5 point. The impact fee, and they have a much impact fee because they have the capacity to use so much more.
Are there any single family residents that other than a 3/4 inch meter?
Yes, they can go, we've seen one. That would be based off of based off of 2 things. One, the distance from the building code demands that if there's, they have to have a larger line. And then also the size. Within their home, they're going to have a large. I have not seen one over that, but largest I've seen is 1 point.
So are our current impacts dictated by the?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. One thing that it talks about here next that having accessory dwelling units within your city, and how might you charge impact fees for those? So the law prohibits impact fees on ADU. The ADU is part of an existing building. So if you have someone that has a single family home, or they're building a single family home and the base. So if it's within an existing primary, you cannot charge an impact fee to that for that. It has to be external. So when it's external though, you can charge an impact. And again, it would just be based on the meter size for this. Okay, let's look at
Sorry,
wastewater.
one quick.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Primary building, can it still be charged impact fee?
So it can be charged. Wait, is it with an exist?
So it would be like a detached new,
Right, but they're going to share a water meter?
I don't know, is that even, Scott, is that even something that?
That's
Yeah.
actually required for,
How would you do that?
We do require them.
To share.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So,
Would you make them have a larger?
That's a good question. I wonder,
sometimes they do, if it's,
No, then,
Probably no.
right, because this one is based on. You would charge an extra parks impact fee. And you
Okay.
would charge an extra roads impact fee.
okay.
So, but this one's based on the meter. Okay, and then the last one we have is waste. This one is done very similarly to water. Table 20 on page 47 looks at your existing wastewater system and it figures out the excess capacity in that system. New development, and you have 2 zones. So you have the northwest lift station that When that happens, it makes sense to divide your city into. So table 20 gives you your exist. Let's go to table 21. That gives your planned improvements cost. So it's telling you that you need to put in these facilities, these capital facilities in order. So we get a cost per ERC of 2,630. We walk through the same things about whether or not you need to have impact fees and what you do for if someone wants to, and then the same thing about looking at the relative extent of future contributions. So going to have debt service for, so this is the bond payback schedule, and we're going to be subtracting 420 so that new residents aren't charged twice. So we calculate the impact fee on, so we take, like I said, there's 2 service areas. The impact fee's higher for that. You take the cost from table 20, add the cost for the new improvements, subtract out that debt service credit. And in the Northwest service area, the impact, and everywhere else it's 4,000. And then this
This is
one,
northwest of North Logan, right? Or this is all,
this is
here.
all North Logan. Do you have a map?
Uh,
You don't need to show them right
Well,
here. I'm
map-
just saying.
I can
Yeah.
tell you where it's at. So it's just Main Street, to the west and 2,500 north to the north.
okay.
So it's kind of the industrial area. The reason being is all of that area drains quite costly to maintain and manage. And so that's why the increased cost. But just for that area, there's no. Just that
Okay.
portion of the city.
And then your wastewater impact fee is based on wastewater production. So your city has actually done a study that was able to show that a single family home, that apartments use about 0.625 of a single family home for wastewater. So townhomes and single family are producing the same amount of waste not. But apartments per unit, we're using about 0.5% of that. So the impact fee is lower for apartments per unit. And then the rest for commercial, for non-resident. And this is looking at the size of the pipe. I'm looking at the capacity. So the capacity ratio to the pipe. And so just like how water was done, you multiply the impact fee. And then another discussion about accessory dwelling units there. And then at the end, you have an bringing costs forward through. Those things should change every year. So these tables change. It tells you how your impact fee would change over time. When you enact your impact fees, you don't have to, that they would change year by year instead of having them be a set amount for this.
So, just curious, how long do these impact?
Years. Yeah, and that's in the Impact Fees Act.
Okay,
So they need to be reviewed every 6 years.
that's mandatory.
Yeah.
Okay,
Some cities don't do that.
yeah,
Great way for them to get challenged.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Although
well,
wouldn't a developer,
inevitably, yeah.
Sometimes they go down.
really?
I've seen them go down. Sometimes it'll go down because,
Like a debt is,
right, well, that usually makes it go up when a debt is paid off.
I can give a good example of that, like, they don't have a lot of that they will be installing. So if you think about that,
Right, so they're just
quasi built
maintaining.
out. Then they're, I've
Yeah,
seen
roads
that.
is actually a great one.
Hmm.
Yeah, because especially you can't charge for maintenance of roads. So if you have a city that's mostly built out and you're mostly just maintaining.
okay. I'm so glad that we have experts.
But I'm sorry that I talked about that for a long time, so
No, you're great. When you're talking about like new residents paying future debt, but not the precede, that's blows my mind. So thank goodness we have experts. Um, let's open this public hearing. Stay, ask questions. Okay, so I'll open up that public hearing. So that's now open for comment. Lieutenant, nothing? Okay. Then we'll close that public hearing. And I just have to make sure everyone stays awake. So we'll close that public hearing. Okay, so council questions?
I have a question. So are we adopting this proposing adopting an impact fee?
So this is my understanding, and we would adopt the ordinance. However, they don't go into place. Does that, but 90 days after today, it would be enacted. However, North Logan City, it's kind of odd that you could that because it required. And so before these could fully be implemented, approve them tonight, it'd come in the first meeting in October. There would be a public hearing with a.
So we're basically starting that 90-day period and then we,
a shot clock.
So I thought you mentioned Jordan had,
So I just pulled those up on the screen. Regarding what is needed with each of these fees, can we afford to go any lower? Just kind of as a favor to development or anything coming. Keep in mind, they were conservative. And so as you looked at it, I just went through these. No, not any lower. It basically, parks, he did recommend going, and that's just based off of the fact that as we have had a lot of grants, things coming down. And it's the only area where we could even afford. The other areas we have.
so is that Jordan's recommendation?
That's Jordan's recommendation. And that the recommended impact fee. That would be the total for businesses. But this would just be the standard single family.
so is what we're their numbers we reviewed with Emily or the,
These recommended numbers
And then for
based
the,
off of the,
and then for the adjustment for the master fee, implement the actuals.
yeah, the actual fee can't go in.
So we're
Yeah.
basically approving the,
Yes.
okay.
because I mean, I hear where Jordan's coming from, but effective North Logan position where we need to incentive, especially when you look at the
No.
feedback that we've received from. And especially we shouldn't be subsidized or we shouldn't be incentivized at the expense of.
Correct.
So-
So there's give and take. I'll just put it in perspective. There are communities that I've looked at that have a fraction of the, and they do not have a lot planned in the future. Dollars higher than what ours is. And I have no idea. And when I say a fraction, so I have no idea how their parks are.
Yeah, so I would hesitate to. $15 that we just reviewed.
Will we be able? Yeah, will we be able to discuss like in October?
Yes.
Okay, I think that's a great point. I think it'd be policy.
That way, that it probably would short-sighted to shortchange yourself.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
I like that, Kenny. Any other discussions on the ceiling amount?
Think we're ready.
Okay.
Everybody's ready?
Yeah, go for it.
So I would move, approve the impact fee report that Emily discussed with us.
Okay, so I heard that you are proposing that we adopt an ordinance. Yes?
Oh, yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
is what I heard. So motion by Kenny,
The specifics of that ordinance, 627.
that's right.
Correct.
Yeah. So the total impact,
and let's just kind
Wouldn't set that cap, I would,
as laid out in the,
as she's laid out,
Okay.
because this, if you say 16,627, that's only applicable to not the multifamily. that
oh
we-
yeah.
all
good
right.
point.
Okay,
Or like a
Thank you.
roads, a good example of a roads that's off. When you look at a convenience store coming. Like these are like 3 to,
Oh, wow.
because of the trips.
because of
Traffic
trips.
coming in and out of there.
Okay,
Yeah, that's where the city council usually has.
Yeah, okay, yeah, good point.
Yes.
okay. So Kenny, do you want to just take another stab at that?
Approve an ordinance to amend our impact fee and impact fees as the cap being as laid out in that Emily reviewed with us. Stormwater's not in there. Okay,
Okay.
so
Okay, great job, Kenny. Motion by Kenny,
No,
I'll
but-
second.
Go ahead.
second by Mark. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you so much, Emily. We really,
Yes, Emily. Wow.
okay. We will move on to consider declaring a list of North Logan City. Alan, are you gonna go through?
Yeah, I can go through this really quick. Code, when we go through and we surplus. There's a standard, a threshold when we look at things that. But really, we need to look at all. Then we go through a certain process to actually sell it, but it has to be approved. As you look at this, I mean, some of these are. One I wouldn't say is just. Quad truck, because it's valued at $50,000. That's more of an analysis. In the needs of the department. So our needs as a volunteer department were and why the needs are. And so this gives an opportunity to for another department that maybe is a volunteer. And then with that money, we would it would service our medics with our what they need. So
Okay,
that's the reason for that. The other ones are just basically they've run
they're
their course.
listed there.
We can't fix them anymore.
So is there-
Inoperable. I love that.
No, did you just scrap metal?
We
Sell
could,
it
if
as
no one
is.
comes in to buy it, we can go. Yes, we can do that.
Yeah, I think you could just say as,
That's basically what we say.
okay. Any other questions on that?
No.
Then I'd entertain a motion.
Make a motion that we, declare a list of North Logan City
Okay, motion by Joni.
and say,
As is, okay.
I'll second.
Okay, second by Kenny. All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that's unanimous. Now we'll consider a resolution to amend the North policy.
And let Scott go through this.
If you remember, we passed the privacy a few months back because the state required us to have it. Well, the FCC for us to send portion of our privacy policy that, and that's what this is amending, is adding.
Okay, perfect. We've all seen this when we. It looks familiar, actually. Okay, any questions on that first? Okay, then I'd entertain a motion.
I'll move to adopt resolution to amend
Okay,
as we've
motion,
reviewed.
motion by Mark,
Second,
second by Kenny. Any discussion on that? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that's unanimous. Let's move on to our work session. Chief Thompson, our long awaited.
impact fees.
I want to know every calculation.
It's gonna be so boring for you. No, and I appreciate the really good things for North Logan and the community. So, we've talked about it in terms of what the ISO is. You know, the ISO is the insurance service across the country with all fire departments and all. And as you know, and after the what happens is that ends up have to redo your assessment. Couple of the neat things that happen. Water system, those improve. And with Logan's improving their water systems and our dispatch center, our ISO said he was quite surprised to see. So ISO 2 is what Logan based off their 2020 deal. So we felt that was a great. So with that, I think I've explained and just I kind of just did throw a couple numbers. Those three classifications you have. You know, it's not a bad score. It's just as you can see, there's actually quite a chunk of and of course the one they highly scrutinize that. And as we looked at some of the things that have some variables, they have one of the things I'm going to show you is their deviance. It is a formula that how we are staffed, and that's okay, but we'll they actually did make an adjustment to our assessment, so I'll kind of walk you through that. So, which is really good. Let's see. I think that's good on the. Okay, so what that means, we try the newsletter so that people knew. It can improve home insurance, you know, fire insurance, homeowners insurance from 3 to 5% per class. Been a 5, and most very, very important that people accessible to everybody, all insurance, to have them recalculate and hope. I believe State Farm is the only from this report. So if you're with State Farm, I'm sorry, maybe. So that does take effort. Now, you guys know, so, one of my acquaintances that owns a business in North Logan. I ironically kind of just dropped by one day. The guy was there. I told, he was presenting, Robin, the business owner, his new policy. And I jokingly said, hey, by the way, don't run. ISO will be out. And he's like, well, what is it? And I said, it's a like, and then he got serious and, well, we should absolutely recalculate. So hopefully it translates to. So that'd be super cool.
S-
Yeah, right?
So your newsletter met,
Yes. Yes.
rate based on an
Absolutely.
ISO rating.
Yep.
Okay.
After July 1st. And so hopefully that word gets out. Questions, please let me. We're hoping good things for that. So, I think that covers that part. Let me just.
Yeah.
I know this is kind of hard to read, and I know it probably doesn't mean a lot to you, but this goes back to here again. The Emergency Comm Center, Logan Cash Dispatch. We've added technology there that they perfectly, which is a great thing for the whole county. The fire department, a lot of categories there. Truthfully, where we're hurt, where it. And 571, company for, or credit for company personnel. Those are the two hits. Out numbers. We're always trying to balance budgets and with our staffing levels. Big cities, they can. So, I might have mentioned, we added one new peak full-time position. And he actually, actually changes each. So, I was gonna talk a little bit about, but I don't want to take a ton of time. So, I just thought it was kind of interesting. You can see the areas, the water supplies with all. Providence have improved, tremendously over the last 4 or 5. That's a pretty darn good, that 36.4. Now there's the divergence. Like, is this, there's probably a formula. It has to do with the water supply available along with the staffing and how they come up with it. Yeah, we hit the 85.5. That is. And that would put us in elite. Pretty good information there. And when I get the revised one, that's the. It's kind of interesting how it's all.
One question for you. Just low hanging fruit to get that. With our latest bond loan that we'll have for drinking water along with the grant, if we're putting in another 4 million gallon tank and a few other things, and then along with the, what is the name of the grant for the officer or for the personnel?
Oh, the SAFER grant?
Safer grant,
yeah.
sorry, I forget.
Yeah, the safe and adequate firefighter.
Yeah, so the safer grant plus those items,
Yes. Yeah, for sure. And what's nice is if you. for your coverage that has changed, they're willing to reevaluate. that. This was a big one, the merger with North. Once North Logan came under our then now that we're. Okay, yeah, for sure. So, any questions? I mean, that's kind of the report.
I don't think so. I think I'm excited to, shout this from the rooftops. Like,
Yeah, and I hope we hear really good things, you know.
Thanks
now-
for working that, chief.
Oh.
Now,
yeah,
did you say if we feel like we have gotten ourselves over that threshold to a 90, how often will they come back?
That is a really good question. I'm not. Because I know departments that sometimes just,
Okay.
I don't think it's a law, right? But when you are doing. The amount of training, the fire prevention, you guys all know, they have to do a ton of, they're rated in several of those categories. It's a huge collaboration, I feel like. In essence, so if you're struggling, it's probably not something. But if you're doing good things and which our community is. If I could I switch gears
yeah,
really quick?
I think this is a good time for your update.
Is that okay? Yeah, well, let's do that because it does segue. With the North Logan contract. Safer grant, and it's a grant that for 3 years, and 100%. It's not, actually covers all of it. We don't hear till September. That would be a huge benefit for how things are looking. So, additionally, now we're into wildland season. It's getting, okay. And it's drying out. This isn't going to be a super. But people need to know in our community, with the developments in California, huge burden for those fires that occurred there. Rocky Mountain Power has adopted that, okay, which is if there is power's going out, and it could be out for a long time. So culture that developed in California are, well, we're fortunate to have him. Chief Lacroix came from Northern California and experienced those fires. They were accustomed, everyone had generators because what happens, they knew in the summer, power could go out for days at a time. And you've got refrigerators. What we're trying to do is get the word out that it's already happened several times. Power went out per this new policy. Now, luckily, those were small fires. The power was only out for a short amount of, but just know along our bench, that's a big area. And so but just to prevent any additional or potential spread of fire, you're going to see them shut their power. Will carry, obviously it'll carry embers. It can actually have to, they're just like, hey, the end result is, no power and so we'll see how it goes. We're hopeful. Good thing is there, like, let's say if it's a north end fire, well, hopefully it's a small out. That is the good thing is we. So I just didn't want that. I thought it was warning and we don't.
So chief I thought in California they were, even when there wasn't a high winds or something, that.
Yep. Yes, sir. Yep. Yep, same thing. So if
So-
we project like super,
Yeah,
there is the potential. But you're absolutely right. But the power would go out for fire danger, you know?
yeah.
So it's kind of new, kind of.
You know, like a whole house generator. Is that what people were
Mhm.
doing?
Yeah, yep. So they could run their,
Yeah,
keep things.
I was gonna say,
From perishing.
super cheap.
yeah.
Yeah, super cheap.
Okay.
So no, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, chief. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Okay.
thanks, chief.
And you can be excused if you want to, since you've given us your report, whatever you want to do. I always offer. All right. Let's get an update on the,
Okay, so as a reminder, tomorrow we will have a joint work. We do have one item on the agenda. And then we'll join, so that's the next meeting to discuss. A summary of our last open house and a comment. And then we'll also look at, start looking at the future land. So we'll look at our old future. So that's what we're looking at. And then in conjunction with the general plan. We'll start that project with a. So those of you who are on that steering committee. In conjunction with the general plan, separate project. You guys have any questions on that project? I'm sorry.
So
gonna
7 o'clock tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, you're welcome to show up at 6:30 if you want.
Yeah,
sounds good.
I will be here. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, perfect. So I assume Buzzy and.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, Scott.
I'm sorry, say that again. Yeah, I mean, we're not actively advertising. There's also that interactive map on. Oh, I thought of something. Let's talk about. The public can certainly. Participate with future public input. There will be more
Okay,
in-person opportunities.
okay, thanks, Scott.
Yep.
Okay, updates on the,
Sorry, I jumped ahead to the other one. Oh, water. I didn't know if you wanted me to go over water. Is that the next item?
well, sorry. Oh, yes, sorry. Yes, we jumped through water.
I'll just go over very quick. We already went over a port. Again, the endless amount of work that goes. BOR design grant that they're applying for. Of the tanks associated with that Division of Drinking Water application. All the other things they're working on right now. So they'll probably go out and heavily in July. Users, just so everyone knows, have used water usage in June, which means they're watering a lot more than they, which means they're probably not abiding by. And so they'll probably start. I don't know if anyone's ever received one of those.
Is this where I also confess I got? I've gotten a water violation.
But yes, they're protected when they go out there. They're in violation. They put that door hanger on, and they go about it a kind way. Help people figure out ways to conserve, help in compliance with that, so that our system does function. And so just keeping that in line for the next couple months. But just so you know, if people are out, if you see flyers on doors.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, how about the Civic Center? We ready to talk about that?
Just a quick update on the Civic Center. So really this city office. But the other aspect, which everyone to be able to participate in these meetings. And so we'll have what the screen right now, it's just what we'll do is and so half of the screen will be what's taking place on the monitors here, and the other half will be you that comes to speak. And so we'll get that up and running here. The other thing that they'll start doing is they'll start grubbing for the community center this next at the earliest. Clear the site, start installing utilities, and then they'll move forward. Exciting. With everything that's going on, and then our only task at that point is just make. They'll have a donor wall. And that'll help cover the cost for that. Kind of the final cost, I would say.
Okay, thanks, Alan.
Yeah, but we have to. Information, year and a half.
So are we going to be soliciting
Businesses, citizens, citywide for donations. Then we'll have a donor wall, basically with a bunch of birds on the wall. Statue out in front of the.
Yeah.
They have kind of a representation of that. And then that book opening, the birds will be the donors.
Okay. Okay, thanks, Alan. Let's get report.
I don't even think I'm gonna try and goes in and out, that way I don't hear it the way I put it
Okay.
the rest of the time. We've had 100 calls for service this week. Being the mayor.
I mean, the thoroughness was,
You know? The one that gets everybody.
it's true, like, and it wasn't a deal.
He's
Yeah.
no longer with the force.
So it's, It was and I fixed it the next,
Yep, she did. We have photographic evidence,
oh,
but it's been fixed. So,
good, loving all this publicity.
yep. Um, thankfully you weren't one of our 2D. Those are going up. Because we know that we're about to get really busy.
Mhm.
So, otherwise things are going good. He decided to go to the county. We're really happy with the guy that we picked. And he'll start on the 14th. And we're currently hiring for a begin. And so, and then, I know Chief is on vacation right now, but he's got. Any questions from the council? I don't foresee that happening, but yeah, we're trying to not be like, we're aiming for professionals.
Lieutenant, are the new hires are they,
So the one, crazy busy. And so we're moving one for
okay,
no, we have 2 detectives right now. We're detective, trying to get that rounded out and see if kind of give those guys a little bit of breathing room. They seem to be making national news 2 or 3 months at this point. So we've got big cases and good people in there right now, and we're just trying to.
Okay. Okay, thanks. Chief, anything else you want to add? Scott, Marie, Scott and Alan.
Just upcoming events. Just to keep these things, again, we had the chip seal day. We'll try. Touch a Truck was fantastic. Thanks to the police, fire, all of those that were in. And then the next one is the Glamour Shop.
Will we have
oh, yeah.
like boas
I don't know. I have no idea.
Uncle Rico pose.
or
That's
BYO?
Glamour Shots by Deb. And
Yeah.
so, ready, but if, that'll be July 16th from 11.
Their makeup day if we can't be here.
There might be. So, we're really. And then we'll see if there are any makeup days.
If we can't be here, can we just,
We can, but we're probably gonna try.
okay.
Kenny, do you have your own glamour shot?
I do, I've got,
Okay.
Thousands of courses. Anyway, and then just Pioneer Day, keep that on your. Largest parade, largest activities in the valley, bar none.
are we doing a city council representation of parade?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
So you throw candy out like it's going out of style.
yeah.
Bring a
Chief,
lot
are we
of
gonna use fire trucks that we always, you know? Yeah. Okay. But yeah, I think we usually help with the Pioneer Day breakfast in the morning and then go from there. I should probably mention that.
That sounds great.
6:30, so.
It's really 7 and it goes to about. And then there's activities after that. If you look at the flyer, Marie's helped put that together. 6 a.m. to 11. Nonstop activities that day. But those are the 2 or 3.
Yeah,
Forward to that.
okay. Anything
Um,
else that we need to know
Oh,
about?
just the employee summer party. So I just put,
That one's always so fun.
that's for everyone
Okay,
and their families, everyone and their families.
okay, perfect.
Starting at 5, is that what I'm?
Yeah, about 5 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Okay. Okay, thanks, Ellen. All right, anything from the council? If not, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. Okay, motion by Joni,
Second?
second by Kenny. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?